Time moved forward as it always does. Arav grew older, life changed, but the lake remained the same, and so did the habit. Even years later, Arav still visited the lake. Sometimes he sat on the same rock. Sometimes he walked the same path, and sometimes, when the wind blew the right way, he felt something soft brush past him. A familiar presence, a tail he could almost hear wagging, a love that refused to fade. Because some friendships don't end when life ends. Some bonds don't break even when the world says they should. And some shadows never leave the heart they protected. The sky was slowly turning gold as the sun lowered itself toward the horizon. A soft breeze drifted across the quiet lake, carrying with it the faint scent of water and earth. Arav walked slowly along the old path he had walked hundreds of times before. And right beside him walked Shadow, his loyal dog, just as he had for so many years. But today, something felt different, subtle yet heavy. Shadow's steps were slower. His breathing was gentler. His once energetic trot had become a careful, thoughtful walk. Arav noticed it, even if he didn't want to say it out loud. There was something in the air, a quietness that didn't belong to the evening. It belonged to goodbye. Shadow had come into Arav's life when he was just a little boy. Arav remembered that rainy afternoon when the tiny puppy, shivering and scared, had been brought home. The puppy had looked at him with eyes that held fear and hope at the same time. From that moment on, it felt like Shadow decided that Arav was his entire world. Shadow had been there for every step of Arav's growing years. When Arav fell while learning to ride a bicycle, Shadow had rushed to him, whining as if he felt the pain too. When Arav cried after his first fight in school, Shadow laid his head on Arav's lap and stayed there till the tears disappeared. When Arav celebrated his birthdays, Shadow barked excitedly, running around in circles as if every year was a festival just for the two of them. Shadow was not just a pet. He was comfort. He was friendship. He was childhood itself. The lake had always been their place. It was where Arav went when he was happy, sad, confused, or lost. And Shadow always walked beside him, even when he was tired, even when the weather was bad. It was here that they played fetch until the stars came out. It was here that Arav had confessed all his fears out loud, knowing Shadow would never judge him. It was here, on this very path, that their bond felt the strongest. But today, as Arav looked at Shadow, he felt a strange ache. The lake had always been comforting, but now it felt like it was preparing to hold one more memory, one that Arav wasn't ready for. Arav sat down by the edge of the lake, and Shadow slowly lay beside him. The old dog placed his tired head gently on Arav's leg, just like he had done hundreds of times before, but now the gesture felt heavier, filled with a meaning that Arav could not ignore. "Do you remember?" Arav whispered, running his fingers through Shadow's fur. "How you never left me alone? Not once?" Shadow's tail moved, just once, weak but full of love. Arav felt tears rise in his eyes as he remembered. How Shadow would run to the door every evening before Arav even arrived. How he would sit beside the dining table, waiting patiently for a tiny treat. How he always understood things without needing words. Joy, fear, loneliness, heartbreak, everything. Some memories were warm, but some memories cut deeper. Arav remembered the day Shadow saved his life. He had been crossing the road without looking, distracted and upset. A speeding car had appeared out of nowhere. Before Arav could react, Shadow lunged forward, pushing him back but getting hit on the side. The injury wasn't fatal, but it left a small limp in Shadow's walk forever. Shadow never complained. He never acted like he had done something heroic. For him, protecting Arav was natural, like breathing. And thinking of that memory now, as the evening turned darker, broke something inside Arav. Shadow shifted, trying to get more comfortable, but his body was tired, too tired. Arav felt it in the way Shadow breathed, slow, deep, fragile. The wind grew slightly colder, as if the world itself was preparing for something it already knew. The lake's water moved in gentle waves, whispering softly in the silence. Arav held Shadow close. "Hey," he whispered, voice trembling. "I'm right here, okay? I'm not going anywhere." Shadow looked up at him, one last time. There was no fear in those eyes, only peace. A deep, gentle peace. A look that said everything without saying anything. "Thank you. I love you. I didn't want to leave, but it's time." Shadow took one long, final breath, and then he rested, still, quiet, free. Arav didn't know how long he held Shadow. Minutes? Hours? Time didn't make sense anymore. His tears fell silently into Shadow's fur. The world around them continued. Crickets sang, leaves rustled, the water moved. But inside Arav, everything felt painfully still. He lifted the collar gently and held it against his chest. "You're not gone, Shadow," he whispered. "You're inside me. You always will be.